Did you know that its Jurassic coast holds 185 million years of prehistory within its stone walls? That the Bristol Channel boasts the second highest tidal wave on the planet, defying gravity daily, and that an apocalyptic mega tsunami violently severed this land from Europe? Southern England is more than just countryside, it's a chalk bastion, a realm of legends and raw natural power. Get ready to discover 50 incredible facts about Southern England that will completely change the way you see this untamed heart of the island. 50. The towering summit of Berkshire. Walbury Hill stands as the highest point in the entire county of Berkshire, reaching an elevation of 297 meters above sea level. This geographical giant is actually the highest chalk hill in the whole of southern England, offering a commanding view that stretches across several neighboring counties on a clear day. Located near the village of Inkpen, the hill is topped by an ancient Iron Age hill fort known as Walbury Camp, which covers an area of approximately 30 acres. The steep slopes and the massive scale of the ramparts demonstrate how the natural topography was utilized for defense thousands of years ago. It remains a significant landmark for those traversing the North Wessex Downs. 49. The panoramic apex of Buckinghamshire. Coombe Hill is a prominent geographical feature in the Chiltern Hills of Buckinghamshire, rising to a height of 852 feet above sea level. This site is famous for its panoramic views that extend across the Aylesbury Vale and, on exceptionally clear days, reach as far as the Cotswolds. The hill is marked by a massive granite obelisk that serves as a war memorial for those who fell in the Boer War. Managed by the National Trust, the area comprises diverse habitats including chalk grassland and scrub, which support a wide variety of local flora and fauna. It serves as an essential ecological island within the increasingly developed landscape of the southeast region. 48. The eroding giants of East Sussex. The Seven Sisters represent a striking series of white chalk sea cliffs located within the county of East Sussex, formed by the constant erosion of the South Downs. These geological wonders stretch between the mouth of the River Cuckmere and the headland of Beachy Head. Each of the 7 individual peaks has a unique name, and interestingly, an 8th hill is currently being carved out by the relentless action of the English Channel. Because they are allowed to erode naturally, the cliffs retain a brilliant white color, unlike the famous cliffs in Kent, which are increasingly becoming green due to vegetation growth. This stretch of coastline is a classic example of a retreating cliff line in modern geological studies. 47. The Sunken Valley of Hampshire. The Solent is a strategically vital strait of water that separates the mainland coast of Hampshire from the Isle of Wight. Geographically, it is actually the submerged valley of an ancient river system that once flowed eastward when sea levels were much lower. It extends for approximately 15 miles from the famous chalk stacks in the west to the entrance of Southampton Water in the east. The width of this waterway varies significantly, ranging between 1.75 miles and 4 miles at its widest point. This unique body of water experiences complex tidal patterns, including a double high tide that has historically benefited the major shipping ports of Southampton and Portsmouth by extending the period of deep water. 46. The Fractured Ridge of the Isle of Wight. Situated off the western extremity of the Isle of Wight, the Needles are a row of 3 distinctive chalk stacks rising 30 meters from the sea. These iconic geological features were once part of a continuous chalk ridge that connected the island to the mainland near Dorset. The name derives from a 4th needle-shaped rock called Lot's Wife, which collapsed during a massive storm in 1764. Today, the vertical strata of the chalk demonstrate the intense tectonic forces that folded the earth millions of years ago. A lighthouse, established in 1859, stands at the end of the formation to guide ships through these treacherous waters. 45. The Shingle Desert of Kent. Dungeness is a unique headland in Kent that is frequently described as the only desert in the United Kingdom, although this classification is technically debated by meteorologists. It consists of one of the largest expanses of shingle beach in Europe, formed by longshore drift over many centuries. The environment is so harsh and unusual that it supports a third of all plant species found across the nation, many of which are specifically adapted to the salty, stony soil. Dominating the flat landscape are 2 massive nuclear power stations and several lighthouses, creating a stark and mysterious atmosphere. The sheer volume of flint pebbles here is estimated to be many millions of tons, shifting constantly with the coastal tides. Before continuing, don't forget to subscribe and like to keep exploring the strange and incredible geography of our entire country. 44. The ancient geoglyph of Oxfordshire. Whitehorse Hill is the highest point in Oxfordshire, reaching an altitude of 261 meters within the scenic North Wessex Downs. The hill is most famous for the ancient Uffington White Horse, a highly stylized prehistoric figure carved into the white chalk of the upper slopes. This giant geoglyph measures 110 meters in length and is thought to be over 3,000 years old, making it the oldest chalk hill figure in Britain. The geography of the hill includes a deep, steep-sided valley known as the Monge, where local legend says the horse grazes at night. It remains a focal point for archaeological study and spectacular natural beauty. 43. The Sandstone Pinnacle of Surrey. Leith Hill stands as the highest point in the county of Surrey, and indeed the highest point in the entire southeast of England. Its summit reaches an elevation of 294 meters, but when the stone tower at the top is included, the height exceeds 1,000 feet above sea level. This geographical landmark is situated within the Surrey Hills area of outstanding natural beauty and offers views that can stretch as far as London to the north and the English Channel to the south. The surrounding woodland and heathland are part of a massive sandstone ridge that provides a stark contrast to the chalk downs found elsewhere in the southern counties. 42. The Greenson Heights of West Sussex. Black Down is the highest point in the county of West Sussex, rising to 280 meters above sea level. Located within the South Downs National Park, this hill is not actually part of the Chalk Downs, but is instead composed of greensand. The geography here is characterized by dense woodland and vast expanses of open heathland, which inspired the famous poet Alfred Tennyson, who lived nearby. The hill offers some of the most extensive views in southern England, looking out over the Weald toward the North Downs. The soil is acidic and nutrient poor, creating a specialized ecosystem that supports rare birds like the nightjar and various species of heather that carpet the summit. 41. The Mantle Rock of Cornwall. Lizard Point represents the most southerly location on the British mainland, jutting out into the Atlantic Ocean with dramatic intensity. The geography of this Cornish peninsula is world famous because it is composed of serpentinite, a rare rock that originated from the Earth's mantle millions of years ago. This dark, snake-like rock was pushed to the surface by massive tectonic collisions, providing a unique window into the deep structure of our planet. The cliffs here are rugged and dangerous, having caused hundreds of shipwrecks over the centuries. Because of its southern position and the warming influence of the Gulf Stream, the area enjoys a mild microclimate that supports unusual flora not found elsewhere in England. 40. The Graded Shingle of Dorset. Chesil Beach is a remarkable 18-mile-long shingle tombolo that connects the Isle of Portland to the mainland coast of Dorset. This massive geographical feature is part of the Jurassic Coast World Heritage Site and consists of an estimated 100 million tons of pebbles. One of the most fascinating aspects of the beach is the natural grading of the stones. They are tiny and pea-sized at the western end near Bridport, but grow to the size of oranges near Portland. This phenomenon is so consistent that local smugglers in the past were said to be able to tell exactly where they had landed in the dark just by feeling the pebbles on the ground. 39. The Granite Spires of Devon. Dartmoor is a vast upland area in Devon characterized by its dramatic granite tors, which are large rock outcrops that crown the hills. These structures were formed over 280 million years ago when molten rock cooled deep underground and was later exposed by the erosion of the overlying surface layers. The highest of these is High Willhays, reaching 621 meters above sea level. The landscape is a complex mix of peat bogs, narrow river valleys, and ancient oak forests, covering an area of approximately 368 square miles. The granite itself is extremely hard, resisting the wet and windy weather that frequently sweeps across this exposed moorland. 38. The tidal limestone of Bristol. The Avon Gorge is a spectacular limestone canyon that slices through the landscape of Bristol, reaching depths of up to 250 feet. Carved by the River Avon over thousands of years, the gorge features nearly vertical cliffs that reveal millions of years of geological history. It is world famous for the Clifton Suspension Bridge, which spans the massive gap and stands as a masterpiece of Victorian engineering. The unique microclimate within the gorge supports rare plant species, such as the Bristol onion and the Bristol rock cress, which are found nowhere else in the world. The tidal range of the river here is one of the highest on the planet, fluctuating significantly twice every day. 37. The Funneled Surge of Gloucestershire. The Severn Bore is a powerful tidal phenomenon that occurs in the lower reaches of the River Severn in Gloucestershire. As the incoming tide from the Atlantic is funneled into the narrowing estuary, it forms a distinct wave that travels upstream against the river current. This wave can reach heights of up to 2 meters and travels at speeds of approximately 13 miles per hour. It is one of the few places in the world where such a large and consistent bore occurs, attracting surfers photographers and spectators from across the globe. The geography of the riverbed and the extreme tidal range of the Bristol Channel are the primary factors that create this impressive natural spectacle. 36. The Sandstone Island of Somerset. Glastonbury Tor is a striking conical hill that rises 518 feet above the flat Somerset levels. This geographical landmark is composed of layers of Jurassic sandstone and limestone that have resisted the erosion that leveled the surrounding plains over millions of years. Historically, the area was often flooded, turning the Tor into a virtual island accessible only by boat. The hill is famous for its distinctive terracing, the origin of which remains a subject of intense geographical and archaeological debate, with theories ranging from ancient agricultural systems to ritual pathways. From the summit, one can see across the vast, low-lying wetlands toward the Mendip Hills and the distant Bristol Channel on a clear day. 35. The Chalk Plateau of Wiltshire. Salisbury Plain is a massive chalk plateau in Wiltshire, covering an area of approximately 300 square miles. It is the largest remaining area of calcareous grassland in northwest Europe, preserved largely because it has been used for military training for over a century. The geography is characterized by rolling hills and hidden dry valleys, with the highest point being Easton Hill. Underneath the thin soil lies a deep layer of white chalk that acts as a natural sponge, absorbing rainwater and feeding the surrounding river systems. The plain is also home to Stonehenge, demonstrating how the open, flat topography of the plateau has been significant to human civilization for thousands of years. 34. The Geothermal Veins of Bath. The city of Bath is geographically unique in the United Kingdom for its 3 natural thermal springs, which produce over 1 million liters of hot water every single day. The water originates as rain falling on the nearby Mendip Hills, which then percolates deep into the earth to a depth of nearly 3,000 meters. At this extreme depth, the water is heated by geothermal energy before being forced back to the surface through a series of geological faults. When it emerges at the King's Spring, the water maintains a consistent temperature of 46 degrees Celsius. This constant flow of mineral-rich water has shaped the city's geography and history since the Roman era. 33. The Coastal Ravines of Bournemouth. Bournemouth is famous for its unique coastal geography, featuring steep-sided river valleys known locally as Chinese. These deep ravines were carved into the soft sandstone cliffs by small streams flowing toward the sea over thousands of years. There are several major Chinese along the coastline, including Alum Chine and Durley Chine, which provide sheltered pathways from the cliff tops down to the sandy beaches below. The geography of these areas is relatively fragile, as the sandy soil is prone to erosion from wind and water. Today, the Chinese are lush, wooded areas that host a variety of wildlife and offer a distinct geographical contrast to the long, open stretches of the main Bournemouth beach. 32. The Mineral Basin of Cheltenham. Cheltenham owes its entire existence as a famous spa town to its unique underlying geography. The town is situated on a thick bed of blue lias clay, which was deposited during the Jurassic period millions of years ago. This clay layer acts as an impermeable basin that traps groundwater, which then becomes highly mineralized as it moves through the surrounding rock and sand deposits. In the early 18th century, these saline springs were discovered bubbling to the surface, leading to the development of the town's famous pump rooms and health resorts. The specific chemical composition of the water, rich in sodium and magnesium, is a direct result of the ancient marine environment that formed the local clay. 31. The Exe Estuary of Exeter. The Exe Estuary, beginning just south of Exeter, is one of the most significant geographical features in Devon, spanning over 3,000 acres of tidal mudflats and salt marshes. This massive estuary is a vital stopover for over 20,000 migratory birds every winter, thanks to the rich nutrients deposited by the River Exe as it meets the English Channel. The geography of the estuary is defined by its funnel shape, which creates significant tidal shifts that expose vast areas of silt and sand twice a day. This environment is protected as a site of special scientific interest due to its rare coastal plants and complex ecosystem. The sandspit at Dawlish Warren acts as a natural barrier, protecting the inner estuary from the sea. 30. The Cotswold Edge of Gloucester. Gloucester is situated in the fertile Vale of Gloucester, a low-lying area of land nestled between the Forest of Dean and the dramatic Cotswold Escarpment. This geographical position means the city sits on a bed of Jurassic clay, which has historically influenced its development and the surrounding agriculture. To the east, the Cotswold Hills rise sharply, reaching heights of over 300 meters at nearby Robinswood Hill. This hill is an outlier of the main Cotswold Range, composed primarily of limestone and clay and provides a vantage point over the entire Severn Valley. The local geography is shaped by the proximity to the River Severn, which has historically provided a vital transport route and a risk of seasonal flooding. 29. The natural harbor of Plymouth. Plymouth Sound is one of the world's largest and most spectacular natural harbors, covering an area of approximately 1,000 hectares. This geographical feature was formed by the flooding of several river valleys, including the Tamar and the Plym, during the rising sea levels after the last ice age. The sound is protected from the turbulent waters of the English Channel by a massive artificial breakwater, which spans nearly 1 mile in length and was constructed using 4 million tons of local limestone. The geography of the harbor is characterized by deep water channels and numerous rocky inlets, making it a perfect naval anchorage for centuries. The surrounding Hoe is a limestone plateau that offers a commanding view over this vast expanse. 28. The Ridgeway of Swindon. Swindon is located in a geographical transition zone between the clay vales of the Upper Thames and the chalk uplands of the Marlborough Downs. To the south of the town, the landscape rises toward the Ridgeway, an ancient trackway that follows the crest of the Chalk Hills. This area is characterized by rolling hills and deep valleys formed by the erosion of the soft chalk over millions of years. The geography of Swindon itself is influenced by its position on a ridge of Portland and Purbeck limestone, which provided the building materials for the old town. This limestone ridge sits above the surrounding Oxford clay, creating a distinct topographical feature that has dictated the urban expansion of the town throughout the 19th century. 27. The Goring Gap of Berkshire. The Goring Gap is a narrow, steep-sided valley where the River Thames carves its way between the Chiltern Hills and the North Wessex Downs in Berkshire. This geographical marvel was formed at the end of the last ice age when massive glacial lakes overflowed, creating a powerful torrent that sliced through the chalk ridge. Today, the gap is only about 500 meters wide at its narrowest point, and it serves as a critical transport corridor for railways and roads connecting London to the west. The surrounding landscape is dominated by hanging beech woods and dramatic chalk cliffs, making it one of the most scenic stretches of the entire Thames Valley. It remains a classic example of fluvial erosion in southern England. 26. The ancient woodland of Buckinghamshire. Burnham Beeches in Buckinghamshire is a prime example of ancient woodland geography, covering over 500 acres of land that has remained largely unchanged for centuries. The site is situated on a plateau of gravel and sand, which were deposited by ancient rivers during the Pleistocene epoch. These acidic soils have shaped the unique ecosystem of the area, supporting a vast collection of ancient pollarded beech and oak trees, some of which are over 400 years old. The geography of the woods is characterized by a series of small valleys and ponds, which provide a variety of microhabitats for rare fungi and insects. This area is designated as a National Nature Reserve and a site of special scientific interest. 25. The Ouse Valley of East Sussex. The Ouse Valley in East Sussex is a wide, flat-bottomed valley that has been carved into the chalk of the South Downs by the River Ouse. This geographical feature is characterized by its broad floodplains and the dramatic gap it creates in the chalk escarpment near the town of Lewes. Over thousands of years, the river has meandered across the valley floor, depositing thick layers of alluvium that have created fertile land for agriculture. The valley is also home to several oxbow lakes and marshes, which are remnants of the river's ancient path. The surrounding chalk hills rise steeply from the valley floor, creating a landscape of stark contrasts and offering significant drainage routes for the inland regions toward the sea. 24. The New Forest catchment of Hampshire. The geography of the New Forest in Hampshire is defined by its vast expanses of heathland and ancient woodland, covering approximately 150 square miles. Unlike much of the surrounding county, which is dominated by chalk, the New Forest sits on a complex mix of sands, gravels, and clays deposited during the Eocene period. These nutrient-poor, acidic soils have prevented the land from being used for intensive agriculture, preserving its ancient character. The forest is home to a unique drainage system of small streams and mires, which act as a giant sponge for the surrounding region. This specialized geography supports a wide array of rare species, including the New Forest pony, which has shaped the vegetation through centuries of grazing. 23. The multicolored sands of the Isle of Wight. Alum Bay, located at the western tip of the Isle of Wight, is world famous for its vertical strata of multicolored sands. This geographical phenomenon is a result of intense tectonic activity that occurred 30 million years ago, which tilted the layers of horizontal sediment into a near vertical position. There are over 20 distinct shades of sand visible in the cliffs, ranging from white and yellow to deep reds and greens, each representing different minerals deposited during the Eocene epoch. The bay is framed by the massive white chalk stacks of the Needles, creating a sharp geological contrast. Continuous erosion from the sea ensures that fresh layers of these ancient, colorful sediments are constantly being revealed to the modern observer. 22. The North Downs Escarpment of Kent. The North Downs in Kent form a significant chalk escarpment that stretches from the borders of Surrey to the famous White Cliffs of Dover. This geographical feature is characterized by a steep south-facing slope and a gentle north-facing dip slope, a classic example of a cuesta landform. The chalk itself was formed 90 million years ago from the remains of microscopic marine organisms in a shallow sea. The geography of the Downs is punctuated by several deep river gaps, such as those created by the Medway and the Stour, which have historically served as vital trade routes. The thin alkaline soils of the plateau support rare orchids and specialized butterfly species, making it a crucial ecological corridor in the southeast. 21. The confluence of Oxfordshire. Oxford sits at the geographically significant confluence of the River Thames and the River Cherwell, a location that has dictated the city's development since Saxon times. The surrounding geography is defined by a wide, flat floodplain composed of thick layers of gravel and silt deposited over thousands of years. This low-lying land is crisscrossed by a network of smaller streams and man-made channels, which were originally designed to manage water levels and power mills. To the east and west, the land rises into the Corallian limestone ridges, providing the stone that gives the city its famous honey-colored appearance. The seasonal flooding of these meadows remains a vital part of the local ecosystem, providing rich nutrients for the surrounding university parks. 20. The Box Hill Landmark of Surrey. Box Hill is a prominent landmark in the North Downs of Surrey, rising to an elevation of 224 meters above sea level. This geographical feature is named after the ancient box woodland that covers its steep west-facing slopes, which is one of the largest such forests in the United Kingdom. The hill is composed of hard chalk, which has resisted erosion more effectively than the surrounding clay vales. At the foot of the hill, the River Mole has carved a dramatic valley, creating a series of swallow holes where the water can disappear underground during dry spells. This unique interaction between the river and the chalk geography makes Box Hill a site of immense interest for geologists and naturalists alike. 19. The Arun River Gap of West Sussex. The River Arun has carved a massive gap through the chalk of the South Downs in West Sussex, creating a geographically distinct valley that connects the Weald to the sea. This gap is one of 4 major breaches in the chalk ridge and is characterized by its wide, marshy floodplains and steep valley sides. The geography of the area is heavily influenced by the tidal nature of the river, which flows inland for many miles, bringing brackish water into the heart of the county. The valley is home to Amberley Wild Brooks, a large area of wet grassland that is a vital habitat for overwintering waterfowl. The interaction between the chalk hills and the river system creates a complex drainage network for the entire region. 18. The granite upland of Bodmin Moor. Bodmin Moor is a vast granite upland in Cornwall, covering approximately 80 square miles and containing the county's highest peaks, Brown Willie and Rough Tor. This geographical feature is part of a massive subterranean granite batholith that stretches across the entire southwest peninsula. The landscape is characterized by its bleak open moorland, punctuated by dramatic granite tors that have been shaped by thousands of years of freeze-thaw weathering. Unlike the surrounding lowlands, the moor has thin, acidic soil and is covered in peat bogs and heather. The geography of the moor also includes several ancient river systems that originate in the high ground, carving deep valleys as they flow toward the north and south coasts of the Cornish Peninsula. 17. The Limestone Cove of Dorset. Lulworth Cove is a textbook example of a horseshoe-shaped bay located on the Jurassic coast of Dorset. This geographical marvel was formed by the sea breaking through a hard outer layer of Portland limestone and then rapidly rapidly eroding the softer clays and sands behind it. The result is a nearly perfect circular cove with a narrow entrance to the sea, framed by dramatic folded rock strata known as the Lulworth Crumple. These folds demonstrate the massive tectonic forces that occurred during the Alpine orogeny millions of years ago. The cove is part of a larger geological landscape that includes the famous Dirtle Door Sea Arch, making it one of the most important sites in the world for the study of coastal geomorphology. 16. The Red Sandstone Cliffs of Devon. The coastline of East Devon is characterized by its striking red sandstone cliffs, which date back to the Triassic period over 200 million years ago. These geographical features are part of the Jurassic Coast World Heritage Site and represent a time when this part of England was a vast, scorching desert located near the equator. The red color is caused by iron oxide within the rock, indicating an oxygen-rich environment during its formation. The cliffs are highly susceptible to erosion from the Atlantic waves, which frequently cause spectacular rockfalls that reveal new fossils and geological layers. This dramatic red coastline provides a sharp contrast to the white chalk cliffs found further east, marking a significant transition in the Earth's geological history. 15. The diverted waters of Bristol. The geography of Bristol was permanently altered in the early 19th century with the creation of the floating harbor, a massive engineering project that enclosed a 70-acre section of the River Avon. Prior to this, the harbor was subject to the extreme tidal range of the Bristol Channel, which left ships stranded in mud twice a day. Geographically, the harbor was created by diverting the main flow of the river into a new channel known as the New Cut, while using locks to maintain a constant water level in the old riverbed. This artificial adjustment of the city's natural waterways allowed Bristol to become a global maritime hub. The underlying geography of the city remains a complex network of ancient river valleys and diverted streams. 14. The ancient basin of the Forest of Dean. The Forest of Dean in Gloucestershire is situated on a geographically unique plateau between the River Wye and the River Severn. This area is a raised basin of ancient rock, including limestone, sandstone, and coal measures, which were formed over 300 million years ago. The geography is characterized by rolling hills, deep wooded valleys, and hidden caverns created by the dissolution of the limestone. Because of its complex geology, the forest has been a site of mining for iron and coal since Roman times, which has left a lasting impact on the topography of the land. The forest acts as a natural highland barrier, influencing the local climate and drainage patterns of the surrounding valleys of the Severn and the Wye. 13. The Limestone Ravine of Cheddar. Cheddar Gorge is the largest and most spectacular limestone gorge in the United Kingdom, cutting a deep scar through the Mendip Hills in Somerset. This geographical feature was formed by massive floods during the various ice ages, as meltwater carved through the soluble carboniferous limestone over millions of years. The gorge reaches depths of over 400 feet and features near vertical cliffs that are home to rare flora and fauna. Underneath the gorge lies a vast network of subterranean caverns and underground rivers, which continue to shape the geography of the area today. The limestone itself is rich in fossils, providing a clear record of the ancient tropical seas that once covered this part of the world during the Carboniferous period. 12. The Ophiolite of the Lizard, Cornwall. The Lizard Peninsula in Cornwall is one of the few places on Earth where you can stand on an ophiolite, a section of the Earth's oceanic crust and underlying mantle that has been thrust onto continental crust. The area is famous for its serpentine rock, a dark green-veined stone formed under intense heat and pressure deep within the mantle. Geographically, this makes the Lizard fundamentally different from the rest of the UK, as it is a literal piece of an ancient seabed from the vanished Reich Ocean. 11. The Graded Pebbles of Chesil Beach, Dorset. Chesil Beach is a 29-kilometer-long tombolo, a barrier beach that connects the Isle of Portland to the mainland. What makes it a geographical marvel is the natural sorting of its pebbles. Due to longshore drift and wave energy, the pebbles are graded by size. They are roughly the size of peas at West Bay, but grow to the size of oranges by the time you reach Portland. Historically, local smugglers landing at night were said to be able to tell exactly where they were just by feeling the size of the stones. Don't forget to subscribe and like to keep learning amazing facts about each province of our beautiful country. 10. The Drowned Valley of the Solent, Hampshire. The Solent, the strait separating the Isle of Wight from mainland England, was once a massive river valley. Around 7,000 years ago, as sea levels rose following the last glacial period, the Solent River was flooded by the English Channel. This turned the high ground into the Isle of Wight and created a unique double tide system that still benefits the ports of Southampton and Portsmouth today. 9. The fifth quarter of Romney Marsh. Kent Romney Marsh is a sparsely populated wetland area covering about 100 square miles. It is often called the fifth quarter of the globe because of its geographical isolation. The marsh was reclaimed from the sea over centuries, a process known as inning. It sits at or below sea level in many places, protected by the massive Dymchurch Wall. Its geography is defined by a complex network of sewers, drainage ditches, and a unique breed of sheep that can withstand the salt-heavy air. 8. The Severn Bore of Gloucestershire witnesses one of the few truly spectacular tidal phenomena in the UK, the Severn Bore. Because the Bristol Channel narrows rapidly into the River Severn, the rising tide is funneled into a single wave that can travel as far inland as Gloucester. The funnel shape of the estuary creates one of the highest tidal ranges in the world, reaching up to 15 meters, which is why you'll occasionally see surfers riding a wave through the middle of the English countryside. 7. The chalk grassland of Salisbury Plain. Wiltshire Salisbury Plain is the largest remaining area of calcareous grassland, chalk grassland, in northwest Europe. Covering roughly 300 square miles, its geography is defined by a thin, alkaline soil that prevents the growth of large forests, but supports a massive variety of rare wildflowers and herbs. Because much of the area has been used as a military training ground since the 1890s, it has escaped modern intensive farming, preserving a prehistoric landscape that remains virtually untouched since the Bronze Age. 6. The verticality of Beachy Head, East Sussex. Beachy Head is the highest chalk sea cliff in Britain, rising to 162 meters, 531 feet above sea level. Geologically, it is the point where the South Downs reach the sea. The cliff is composed of soft white chalk with bands of hard flint. However, the sheer height makes it a site of rapid erosion. Significant cliff falls occur regularly, which is why the lighthouse had to be built in the sea at the foot of the cliff rather than on top of it. 5. The thermal mystery of Bath. Somerset Bath is home to the UK's only natural thermal springs. The water that bubbles up in the city center fell as rain on the nearby Mendip Hills roughly 10,000 years ago. It percolates down to a depth of about 2,700 to 4,300 meters, where geothermal energy heats it to roughly 46 degrees Celsius before hydrostatic pressure forces it back up through faults in the limestone. 4. The Chinese of Bournemouth. Dorset-Bournemouth's coastline is sliced by Chinese, steep-sided coastal gullies where small streams have cut through the soft sandstone cliffs to reach the sea. These are geographical oddities because they represent extremely rapid erosion in a very localized area. The most famous alum chine creates a microclimate that allows subtropical plants to thrive in a way they can't on the exposed clifftops above. 3. The spa geography of Cheltenham. Gloucestershire Cheltenham sits on the edge of the Cotswolds in a geographical dip where the lias clay meets the limestone of the hills. In the 18th century, it was discovered that mineral-rich water was being forced to the surface here through the clay. This wasn't just magic water, it was the result of rainwater absorbing minerals from the lower lias salt deposits as it moved down the Cotswold Scarp, creating the saline springs that turned the town into a world-famous spa resort. 2. The granite tors of Dartmoor. Devon Dartmoor is dominated by roughly 160 tors, freestanding granite outcrops that crown its hills. These were formed 280 million years ago as a massive bubble of magma, a batholith, cooled beneath the surface. Over millions of years, the overlying rocks eroded away, and freeze-thaw weathering attacked the joints in the granite, leaving behind the rugged, castle-like stacks we see today. 1. The Sentinel. The White Cliffs of Dover, Kent. We finish with the most iconic geographical feature of the South, the White Cliffs of Dover, composed primarily of coccolithophore remains, microscopic algae from the Cretaceous period. These cliffs represent a time when the entire south of England was under a deep, warm sea. Because the chalk is so pure and white, it reflects sunlight, making the cliffs visible from the French coast, a geographical beacon that has defined the border of England for millennia. After discovering these little-known geographical secrets about southern England, tell us which one did you like best, or which one surprised you the most? Write in the comments and let's see how many of us agree. If you think we've missed something or want to add something, we'd love to hear from you. Your feedback helps us improve each video. And speaking of videos, there's another one playing so you can continue exploring the geography of our beautiful country. But before you go, don't forget to subscribe and like so we can keep learning together. See you in the next video.